This episode of The Edge is brought to you by Audible.com, offering more than 180,000 titles for smartphone, tablet, and desktop. To get a free audiobook of your choice and help Trek.fm at the same time, visit audibletrial.com/trekfm. And also by Enterprise in Space, an international program of the nonprofit National Space Society. Find out how you can help science and education and become a virtual crew member aboard the NSS Enterprise Orbiter by visiting enterpriseinspace.org. And if you want to join the conversation and share your thoughts on this episode, join the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type BABEL into the Facebook search field. We look forward to seeing you there.
You're listening to Trek FM.
What have you done out there on the edge of Federation space?
Welcome, listeners, to another episode of The Edge, Trek FM's dedicated podcast to Star Trek Discovery. I'm your host, Nick Collinson. Joining me today is Brandi Jackola and Liam Smart. How are you both doing today, Brandi?
I am happy to be here with you guys because it has been a hard week and I always enjoy your company. So just happy to be here.
Thank you. How are you, Liam?
I'm good. I have a headache, but I'm good.
Oh, that's a shame.
Chinese food.
It's Chinese food.
Stop eating Chinese food.
Apparently, this is a thing that happens.
I don't know. It always does. Like, every time I have Chinese food, I come down with, like, someone's punched me in the stomach and I've been hit in the head with a baseball bat. I don't know why.
Have you ever actually been hit in the head with a baseball bat, or are you just imagining how that feels? You have to think about it?
Well,
I'm pretty sure you'd remember being hit in the head with a baseball bat.
I wouldn't remember. Yeah, like, I wouldn't remember if I'd been hit because I'd have, you know.
Well, so he's an Englishman living in Australia. It would be a cricket bat.
Oh, yeah. That is true. No, but I did go through school in the UK as well.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think we even played baseball then. We played rounders. But
sorry, now I'm just getting horrible memories of being forced to play rounders at primary school.
No, being forced to do PE in
childhood trauma.
On this new episode of Headcanon.
Oh, dear.
There's so much trauma. So much trauma to talk about. So much.
So, first things first today, listeners, we have had a review on the Australian's iTunes store, specifically about us. So, Liam, considering the review is from your neck of the woods, do you want to read it out for us?
Sure, yeah. So, this is a 5-star review from someone called Ed in South Australia. He says that I've been a listener since day one and it is a fantastic show, especially now that we have a couple of Australian guys, in particular a South Aussie lad. Keep up the good work, all three of you, Ed. So yeah, 5-star review. So thank you, Ed. I'm glad you're liking us.
Yes, thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
It's always nerve-wracking for us to take over a show that's been in production for over 2 years, and sometimes it's not an easy transition, but I think, me personally, I think we're doing all right, you know?
I think we're doing a good job. It's really nice to get that first review be so positive.
Yeah.
It's great, so thank you very much.
We did get another email. It was from a record company wanting to sign Brandi up for a rendition of the Space Love Boat.
I'm the next Weird Al.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no, I would never presume to ever come close to his level of genius.
No.
So our glowing reviews and Brandi's parody songwriting talents are sadly not all we're talking about today on The Edge. So we're here to follow up on our previous 2 episodes where we talked about all of the new Starfleet ships that we saw in Discovery. Now we are talking about some of the non-Starfleet ships, specifically starting out having a look at a lot of the Klingon ships. And Liam has kind of done the legwork on working this one out. So first of all, I think we should start with kind of the big daddy of them all, the Sarcophagus ship. That's really got Brandi.
I am Qugh from House Big Daddy.
Oh, but it's also a video game reference for me, so it's like double layered.
Yeah.
Stop laughing, Leo.
I don't even think that there are two of them.
Okay.
All right, Nick, you can start off talking about Big Daddy.
Okay, sure. So the Sarcophagus ship. This was one of the first ship designs revealed for the show, I think. I think after we had that sort of initial tease of the kind of working 3D model of Discovery, I think there was maybe a little snippet of a like 3D mesh of the Shinju in one of the early trailers. But like quite early on, they revealed some concept art, and it was the kind of top-down view of the Sarcophagus ship, and it was just like, it still has like a few of the design aspects in terms of the overall shape that we're familiar with for Klingon ships. Like it still has that sort of long neck at the front and the kind of wings spreading out at the back with what we presume are like the warp nacelles on them or something. But it's kind of, that's sort of where the similarity ends, and it's very gothic, very like cathedral-like in its interior design especially, but even on the outside, like for me, I mean, I'm a fan of Warhammer 40k, and anyone who knows that the sort of the aesthetic and especially the starships in that have a sort of similar, like very, very overly ornate, very like gothic cathedral inspired design. And that's sort of instantly what I thought of when I saw this. I was really kind of confused by it at the start, but as soon as it showed up in the show and we started to see like what it was all about, like it's this sort of ancient family ship of Qugh house. Yeah, I started to love it pretty quickly.
Well, it's funny that you say that it's a sort of Gothic style. I can see what you mean by that, and it was considered a holy ship within House Qugh.
Yeah, it is almost like a giant flying cathedral for them.
Well, I mean, this appeared in the first episode, Vulcan Hello, followed up in Battle of the Binaries, Butcher's Knife, Into the Forest I Go, and the Latin-named episode that I can't pronounce.
Civis Pacem Parabellum.
Oh, is it Parchum? Okay, cool.
No, it's Civi Pacem Parabellum.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I don't.
I looked up the pronunciation before we did the live show on that, so.
Good job. So obviously it belonged to Qugh father, but then Qugh father died, and then it sort of fell into disrepair until Qugh came back and restored it. Obviously, once Qugh had died, Cole of House Qugh took it over after winning over the crew. But then it was destroyed, which is kind of a shame because I thought this is probably one of the most wonderfully ornate ships that we've seen.
It is. It's a work of art. And strangely, as I'm looking at this picture that is basically a top-down view, it kind of looks like a vulture, which is a carrion bird.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it is very bird-like.
Well, it just follows on with the whole idea of birds of prey, I guess. It's quite similar to a lot of the other class ships.
That makes sense.
It is magnificent.
Yeah. Now, what always interested me about this ship was that it was covered with coffins, basically, of the remains of the dead Klingons.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I remember people had, a bit of trouble with that because, of course, what we have heard of Klingons from the past is that they don't bother with anything in terms of special, burials or anything for their dead. That's what we've heard in the past, is that their culture is that, as soon as someone dies, the body is just like a dead vessel, and their soul goes on to Sto-vo-kor if they've been a good warrior, or Greathor if they haven't. But, I mean, again, this is one of the things that they've been going into a lot. We saw it with the Klingons throughout all of Discovery, and we're even seeing it with the Romulans now in Picard, is that these alien cultures are not monoliths, and we're seeing, different aspects of them who have different traditions and rituals. And I really love that was part of what we saw with, T'Kuvma's house and those Klingons. aboard the Sarcophagus ship, and it's, they mention when they sort of scan the surface of it that some of these sarcophagi are recent, they've got very recently deceased remains, and some are hundreds of years old.
Or even thousands.
Yeah,
apparently.
So it's just an ancient ship.
I like that the Black Fleet was mentioned in the episode.
Oh, yeah. Because that was one of those things that originally came from the novels and was brought in.
It was also mentioned in DS9, I think.
Oh, cool.
I think. It also reminded me a lot of the episode Barge of the Dead from Voyager.
That's fair.
Yeah. Part of my thoughts about the whole being covered in Klingon dead things, haunted ship. It's got to be haunted.
It's a ghost ship.
Yeah.
It's
the ship of the dead.
Yeah. It's creepy in the most delightful way.
You see, apparently it's over 2 kilometers in size as well. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, it's massive.
Yeah.
Like, how they get it off of a planet.
Well, it looked pretty massive. Well, you don't get something like that off planet. You build it in space.
But it was on a planet.
It
was on a planet.
How was it on a planet?
It was in that episode. I'm sure it was on a planet when Takuma was beaten up as a kid.
Oh, yeah. There's a picture of it right there.
How would that not... It must have really good shields so that it doesn't break up in atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean...
Because it seems to me like gravity would tear that thing apart.
That's kind of how all of these things work, I guess. Like, it's the space technobabble that makes the impossible things possible.
Yeah, definitely.
That works.
What did you think of the inside?
Yep. So cool.
Yeah.
Also very gothic.
Yeah, like, especially with the, the great big bridge, the command center, they really went all out in creating that set, making it look big, that it's not just like a small bridge, the size of a, average sized living room or whatever. It's that sort of big multi-level control room. Yeah, with just the sort of ornate, like, railings and everything everywhere.
Well, they even had Klingon written on the steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I looked up what it said. And this is going to be my terrible pronunciation of Klingon. So I think what it said was logh muSHa'ghach.
Sounds all right. Was there a translation of it?
Space Love Boat.
Oh, fair enough. Oh, God. I walked right into that
one. Yep, we both did. We both did, Nick. We both did. Well played, sir.
Liam.
Well played.
Dear. So no, it was wonderfully decorative inside and very well created, that ship. I don't know what it said. It definitely didn't say Space Love Boat in Klingon.
It may have. You don't know.
Well, do you know what? It'd be creepy if it did, if it was also the ship of the dead. So, oh, dear. Anything else you want to say about this one?
Yeah, that's about all there is about it. I mean, it is a spectacular design, and I'm glad we had it. I hope we see more, more ships to like that level of detail and like everything that went into the design.
I can't remember whether it was well received or not now.
I don't care.
Yeah, I think it was.
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
So,
what's next on the list? Oh, the new D7.
This one's a very confusing sort of concept, considering what it started off as and what we ended up getting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so at the beginning of season 1, we had D7s that was sort of said to be D7s by Starfleet. They were never mentioned as D7s by Klingons, but they were apparently the Sec class, meaning torch, which to me they sort of from above look like Cardassian fighters, which... Ooh, I mean, these pictures I've found from Ex-Astris Scientia. And then they were radically changed, obviously, to be the D7s that we know in Point of Light, episode 3 of season 2. under Laurel's leadership, she sort of tasked Ash Tyler to sort of create the new D7s, which we ended up seeing come the end of season 2 in Such Sweet Sorrow, obviously finding Section 31. But they did show a holographic projection of them in Point of Light.
Yeah, like the confusion with like referring to this, what's called the second class as the D7, it's a bit weird. I would just be happy to consider that just like a continuity gaffe or something. Like the fact that they introduced like kind of what we know as the classic D7 design as like a sort of unifier of all the different houses into like one sort of battleship.
Well, that's what they said it was, yeah.
Yeah. I really like that. I mean, I like that it kind of brings, what am I trying to say? It sort of brings together these sort of all the disparate, different designs and ideas, or at least shows that that's what they're doing. Yeah, as we will talk about as we go through more of these Klingon ships, there are a lot of very different designs in, you know, the ships of the different houses that show up for the Battle of the Binary Stars. And I think that's what it's meant to represent. You know, these different great Klingon houses would probably all have their own shipyards and designers. If they're sort of basically at war with each other, they're not all going to be using the same classes of ships. Yeah, so I think it was a very nice, like, nod to, like, the old continuity to have the classic D7 be sort of like the unified Klingon Empire battleship.
Well, which is what Laurel was trying to do, wasn't she? She was trying to unite.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, Qugh was trying to unite the whole Klingon, or the great 24 houses, obviously failed, unified them to a particular point to try and wipe out Earth, but they weren't unified in the actual battle. But yeah, Laurel done a good job of eventually managing to do it, even if it was under threat of blowing up Kronos. See, the Sec class, have either of you seen the new recent Godzilla movies?
No.
Yes.
I'm fairly sure the Sec class, that the picture that we've got looks like one of those aliens with like the pointy shark nose or something. Or that could have been in Pacific Rim, actually.
No, I think you're thinking Pacific Rim because there was definitely nothing like that.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking of Pacific Rim. To be honest, you get me to the cinema if you just have giant monsters, and then it'll all blur into one.
Exactly. I love me some giant monsters. Put kaiju in, I am there.
Yes. Maybe that should be season 3. Star Trek Kaiju. But yeah, see, I have problems with the D7 design. And I think it's just... Not the D7, sorry. I should say I don't have problems with the D7 design in terms of canon, etc. I just have problems with it in terms of efficiency, because it's got a great big bulbous head and then a great big like skinny shaft that you could easily just like blow up and just knock off. It's like, oh, there goes that ship.
Well, you know, and the same thing is true. Has anybody here besides me seen the movie Event Horizon?
I haven't seen it.
No, but I'd like to.
It's a horror movie. Yeah. It's a horror movie. It's got Jason Isaacs in it.
Cool.
Was he playing a bad guy?
Not
Spoilers.
fully. He was someone who had some issues, but no one in that group was like completely perfect. But the design of the ship, because what they did was they designed a drive that basically folded space. And during the first test of that drive, the ship disappeared.
Okay.
And then it shows up again years later, just near Jupiter or something. I can't remember which planet it was. It's been a little while since I've seen it. And it has, like, the bridge is at the front, and it has this really long neck, and then in the back is where the drive is, because, you know, this is not too distant future. And so they don't want that drive to be operating really near the bridge. And the actual neck is rigged so that you could blow that tunnel and separate the drive from the bridge, and the bridge basically becomes like a lifeboat. So that was actually worked into the design because they were dealing with physics they'd never tested before. Needless to say, the ship went somewhere bad, and when it came back, it was not a good thing. So I'm not going to say any more than that.
Yeah, I want to watch this movie now.
Yeah. How old is it?
It's from the 90s. It's from the 90s. So when a lot of the visual effects are not the best, but when you think about how crap some visual effects were in the 90s, you go, oh, actually, that's all right. But it's it's got Sam Neill, it's got Lawrence Fishburne, it's got Jason Isaacs, it's got Sean Pertwee. It's got a lot of great people in it. So, and it's kind of terrifying. But yeah, but that's that whole thing with the long neck it was purposeful in that, but in the D7, it's kind of like, why would you do that? Exactly.
I mean, you see that in a lot of the Klingon designs in general. Yeah, it does feel a little bit, I don't know, maybe it's like Klingon hubris. They just think they're the best warriors. They think that it would never get hit there.
Well, that and they can cloak. So there's that. But it seems to me like it's more that they like designing things that look like carrion birds. I don't know. It's just a weird design choice.
Now here's a segue for you, Nick.
The next one on the list is the bird of prey.
I have the model of this.
Oh,
have you got it right in front of you?
No. Do you want me to go get it?
Yes. Yes, please.
Okay. You really want me to go get it? Okay.
Yeah. Because I want one.
Okay. Hang on. So, get me. This is my bird of prey.
Wow. Is that metal as well?
It's mostly, it's got like a metal core because it's really heavy.
Okay.
In the middle bits. The wings, definitely not metal, but she's a pretty girl.
Yeah, this one is, I feel, the most attractive ship out of all the ones we're going to be talking about today. It is so detailed.
Yeah, it's really, when you actually get to look at it up close, it's just so cool.
This is another one. I'm looking at.
Especially, I'm looking.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the picture of the 3D render, which is very kind of dark, sort of metallic black, and this is another one that has a very H.R. Geiger feel to it.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at this detail on its butt. It's got this sort of spiny thing there.
It really,
it's a, yeah.
I might be biased to say this, considering that I'm an entomologist, but it does, aside from the shape of the wings, it does have quite a sort of insectile look to it. That's almost like the abdomen of a wasp, kind of curving down underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that the same thing.
It does. Yeah. Its butt definitely looks insect-like. It almost looks like it even has a stinger on it. It's really difficult to see, but
cool.
See how it kind of looks like it has a stinger?
Yeah.
Right here. Yeah. Crazy, right?
See, if you ask me...
It's going to be great for the listeners.
I know, right? They're going to just love this.
Use your imagination.
Yeah.
No, so this is going to probably be a slightly controversial opinion, considering a lot of people had a lot of issues with this particular design of bird of prey, but I think it is the most beautiful looking bird of prey out of all the ones that we've seen across track.
Cool.
And it's my most favourite one, and they've taken the term bird of prey literally because it looks, to me, exactly, but very much like a bird of prey. When you look at the ones from Enterprise era and then TNG, have you just broken it, Brandi?
No.
So, listeners, Brandi just dropped it.
I didn't. I am not even touching the bird of prey right now. I'm touching another ship.
Oh, okay. Well, you carry on touching your ships.
You're absolutely right, Liam, though. It's the way its wings are sort of spread out like that. It's exactly the way that you would see, an eagle or any kind of raptor bird. That is how they fan out their wings when they're just about to strike their prey.
Oh, yeah. If you look at the top of it as well, where the sort of the head, if you will, joins to the wings, it literally looks like muscle to me.
It does, absolutely.
Attaching, like how we've got the muscle that's attached to our neck and our shoulders. It's like that to me.
There's a lot of very organic lines and design work in this one, and kind of in all of these new Klingon ships.
Yes. I wish you guys could actually see this model. It is just so cool to see close up and look at all of these beautiful details.
Yeah.
It even looks like it has almost a beak on the underside of its head.
Is that
that's really cool.
like a phase, not a phase cannon, like some form of photon torpedo cannon?
It's got cannons right here on the front.
Okay, yeah.
But it's also got this bit right under here.
Oh, yeah.
I've really
Yeah,
got to get
again,
this
great for
model.
the listeners. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, because I think it's like with these Klingon ships, the detail that's gone into them. There was
Oh,
a
yeah.
comment that the designers made. I remember that comment being mentioned on one of the early episodes of The Edge as well, before Discovery actually even started, but some of the Klingon designs had been revealed. And they were saying about the Klingons being like very, very, like something about them being aestheticians, like very, very concerned with the aesthetics of the things that they make, which really shows in the intensely intricate designs.
Yeah, I can see that.
Definitely.
It's a very, very intricate looking ship. Brandi, do you remember what the ones looked like in Enterprise? And I guess to an extent TOS? Because I feel like I can see the jump between clunky Bird of Prey in Enterprise to this wonderfully designed ship, but then I can't see the step from this ship to how they created like the 24th century ones.
Yeah, it is difficult to say. I am not as good at remembering the ship design from the original series.
Well,
because it's been a little while since I've rewatched it, but the ones in Enterprise are very much like what we tend to see in the movie, like Star Trek.
I'm looking at a few pictures
first
now.
movie.
Oh, okay.
The Enterprise ones were clearly meant to evoke it looked like an earlier version of the familiar like next gen and like motion picture era Birds of Prey. So this one is quite a departure from that, but at the same time, it just shows that there is a lot more to Klingon ships than we thought. Like, throughout the original series, you only ever saw one design. It was the D7. That was the only Klingon ship that they ever showed. I think. Unless they occasionally had some of the like Romulan Bird of Prey ships under Klingon command.
Well, just from a real world perspective as well, it really makes the Klingon ships jump into the 21st century in terms of
Indeed.
TV making and TV shows.
Well, yeah, it's just they were really able to go all out in their design of a lot of these ships. And weren't really constrained by anything. You have anything else to say about the Bird of Prey?
No, it's beautiful.
All right, so what is next on the list?
Cleave ship.
We have the Cleave ship. I think this one is my favorite, actually.
Yeah?
Oh crap! I didn't grab that model.
I feel like it is just it's very Klingon. Like it's a ship that's designed for ramming. To my mind, that's a very Klingon idea.
Oh yeah,
It looks
absolutely
nothing like anything that we're familiar with in terms of a Klingon ship. But at the same time,
no.
You see it and you hear what it does, and it's like, well, yeah, that's a Klingon ship. It's designed for smashing into things. I'm surprised that we didn't have one of these before now.
To me, this is the Enterprise D of the Klingon fleet.
Oh, yeah?
It's just a cruise ship. It's even got like the bit that goes underneath the water.
It looks like a giant blade.
Yeah.
All that.
It basically is.
I was going innocent.
Which is, what do blades do? They cleave.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure if I would go with... Not quite sure if I'd go with cruise ship. I feel like if I booked a cruise and ended up on a ship that looked like this, I'd want part of my money back.
Yeah, but if you went on a cruise ship that's Klingon, you'd want something like this. If you were I'm going to go on a Klingon cruise, instead of a South Pacific one.
I disagree because I think that there's a ship a little bit further on in the ones that you have collected, Liam, that I would call a cruise ship more than this one.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, we'll see what that is when we get to it. But yeah, this ship invokes a lot of emotion. We didn't see it that many times in Discovery. We saw it in, I think it's the Battle of the Binaries when it rammed through the Europa.
Yep.
And when we saw it with L'Rell turning up in Such Sweet Sorrow.
Yeah, that was great.
That moment she turns up, that is one of the best points of the episode and the whole entire series, I think.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah, just like turning up in this ship, just ramming straight through one of those, like, the big Section 31 ships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's really helpful that it's got a cloak as well to do that. But yeah, no, this ship is pretty cool.
It is.
Again, it's got a lot of little intricate pieces on it, just like the rest of the Klingon ships, all the main ones that we're looking at.
Yeah, they really like their bits and pieces.
Yeah, it's whoever designed all of these, I'm going to say it again, had to have been a fan of H.R. Geiger, because there are so many aspects of this that just remind me of things from the original Alien movie, most of all, and some of the design work that he did for the Dune movie by Alejandro Jodorowsky that was never made. You know, organic-looking lines, but then when you look closer, it's all very mechanical and very industrial looking. Lots of greeblies.
Yes.
But yeah, I like the Cleave ship.
So out of those, that's all of the kind of Klingon ships that really feature in episodes, you know, aside from all of the other ones that turn up at the Battle of the Binaries. They all have a lot of cool names, though. Yeah, so the next one, is the Qugh class, spelled Qugh. I think we've got that pronunciation because there's a note on the Ex Astra Scientia page about it that it says that this means disaster, and it's also Qug's name in Klingon. So I'm going to go with that pronunciation for it. This almost looks like some kind of weird sea creature to me. Or a
like a trident. Like a trident.
It has a very, like, trident-like shape. Quite a few of them do, actually.
Oh, Brandy's got it in her hand.
Yeah. Or it also could look like a decorative comb that you put in a lady's hair.
Oh, yeah.
Do it.
It'll fall out.
No, this is too heavy.
Oh, okay.
This is too heavy. It would. My hair is very, despite the fact that my hair is very boofy, it is very fine and it does not hold things well, like bobby pins or combs. And I would, this would fall out my hair and break. Yes, no Qugh class starships are going to be held in my hair.
No.
But I wish you guys could see the detail on this, because, I mean, just look as I stick it close to my camera, the level of detail.
I really like that. I mean, I can't even tell which end is the front or the back with this one, but on one of the, like...
This is front.
Okay, so on the...
The reason I know this is the front because of how it sits in its stand.
Oh, okay, cool.
I thought it was the other way around.
The front.
Yeah, so
No, prongs are the front.
Yeah, it makes sense that the prongs are the front. So especially with, like, the design of the middle prong, it's got these, like, gold lines running down the middle of it and little things coming off the side at the head that really makes it look like the neck of a guitar to me.
It does, actually. It really does.
This is a 80s hair metal guitar.
Yeah. Definitely 80s hair metal guitar.
See, do you like the little red bits that go down the side of this ship? They're almost sort of similar to like a mek'leth.
Yeah.
Like this, I think with this one and quite a few of the other designs that have a similar sort of trident-like shape, very much meant to look like weapons.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Especially with the red colouring on this one.
Yeah. Which also, I think I've just got muscles on the brain or something, but they're sort of like muscles as well.
It's very interesting because this ship, it's quite difficult to tell the top from the bottom as far as, you know, like this is the bottom and this is the top and they look almost identical.
No up or down.
So it's very much, interesting in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really trying to figure out what makes the top and the bottom. And I don't know. I don't know how you're supposed to tell because it's basically very symmetrical.
Cool.
With every detail. So, yeah, it's next to impossible to tell which side is up, relatively speaking. If you're speaking only about, two-dimensional space. rather than three-dimensional space that you actually fly in. Which is what makes Star Trek Online so hard for Brandi. Brandi is not used to working in 3 dimensions.
God, you're so two-dimensional, Brandi.
I really am. I'm sorry. I know it's something I need to work on. I'm no better than Con, you guys. 2-dimensional thinking.
Yeah, so moving on. So we had the Qugh class. So there's another one. Like I said, a lot of them have a very sort of trident-like appearance. There's a bit of similarity. One that really stands out apart from those, though, is called the Daspu class. And this one is just, it looks just really different from anything else. It doesn't have any wings. This is one that's just kind of I guess it's like a hexagonal prism shape. It's just sort of like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's kind of almost coffin shaped. And it's just kind of got all of these spikes around the base of it. And a lot of very like dark, rusted looking metal in its design and in its coloration. It almost reminds me of, and I haven't watched Farscape in ages, but it kind of reminds me of some of the Peacekeeper ships from that.
Yes, thank you.
Good. I wasn't just making,
No, you were not just making things up in your head. I thought the same thing.
There is something about the design and especially the coloration of this one that makes me think of that sort of kind of like maybe like late 90s sci-fi in general, just had a lot of things that had this sort of color to them.
Yeah, it kind of just looks like a big flying cannon in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like its job is to destroy.
Yeah, which it probably is. I mean, it's got sort of one sort of main sort of prong sticking out the very front of it, which does look like it's a big cannon.
Yeah. So Daspu means boot spike, and that's obviously quite reminiscent in the fact that this thing has got spikes all over it.
It's very spiky.
Boot spike. I like it.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't even remember seeing this in Discovery, but I know that it was at the Battle of the Binary Stars. So
there were so many ships showing up in those scenes.
It's kind of similar with the Batlh, or Batlh, I don't know how to pronounce this, Batlh class, which is basically like a Klingon transport ship. But it was still at the Battle of the Binaries.
So, yeah, we can move on to that one if we want. There's a very, like, rounded, I don't know, it makes me think of, like, sort of 50s roadsters kind of look to it.
Mm-hmm.
So this sort of goes back to what you were saying about how Klingons aren't just like a monoculture, because this thing is nothing like you'd expect from a Klingon ship, I don't think. To me, this is something you'd find in Battlestar Galactica, the reboot one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is what the one that reminds me more of a cruise ship. It's built for capacity for transporting.
Yeah.
So it's just, and also the design of it and the coloring of it reminds me of the 80s movie Dune.
Yeah.
Which, oh my gosh, my brain is failing me. The ships that the creatures that would fold space, they traveled in ships that were very kind of similar to this, that were very long and had,
So yeah, this is a very cool looking ship. Yeah, it has like a kind of cruise ship or like old roadster. This idea in my mind when I think of like the typical like 50s American diner that's like a converted old rail car. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the look I see with this one in the shape of it. It's very like rounded. The coloration's a lot of like bronze and dark green. It's very BioShock.
Yes, thank you. That was the next thing I was going to mention. It is very BioShock. It's that 50s Art Deco sort of thing.
Art Deco. That's the term I was thinking of, yeah.
I can see that.
Even though I think Art Deco was like 30s to 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
there's
in BioShock, it's very,
So there are 3 more: the Qugh, the Qugh, and the Veklar. Defy anyone to try and pronounce those better. So these are 3 more that were at the Battle of the Binary Stars. I mentioned them together because these ones all have a relatively similar design to them in that they are sort of trident shaped, and they also have a little bit of similarity to some of the previous Klingon ship designs that we've seen. The sort of silhouette is vaguely reminiscent of the what is it? Not the Negvar, the other one that was introduced at like late TNG DS9 era, but not the bird of prey. Vorcha.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so they all have a very slightly similar silhouette, especially in the neck portion and the sort of head with the bridge at the front of the Negvar style of Klingon ship, except these ones are a bit more kind of compressed, and they all have, on the wings, I guess I'll call it the wings, sort of really long prongs. They're either sort of warp nacelles or like cannons or both, sort of protruding forward. So they all do really have like the look of the head of a trident. They're all, it's like a little bit reminiscent of the design of the Sarcophagus ship as well. And it's very aggressive and kind of weapon-like in its posture.
Yeah. Well, in terms of their name meanings, the Qugh, I can't pronounce it. It means wage war. The Thlapka means take again, and the Vechlach means devil.
That makes sense.
Devil's due. I think we mentioned this a bit with the Starfleet ships, but I feel like it's even more apparent here that so much design work and thought went into these ships, even though they are just going to be on screen, like in the background for barely a few seconds. But it's clear that whoever made these, whoever was tasked with designing them, really put a lot of thought into it about, what they are, like why they look the way they do.
Well, yeah, and I guess that's just what it is with the age of CGI, that you can pretty much change things around pretty quickly.
It is
but it takes longer than people think. People think, oh, it's a computer generated thing. So,
of course, I'm not saying that it's a breeze. No,
no, but it can be changed. But it is hard to take something from a design to making it actually look like it exists in space.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And so the digital effects people, I tip my hat to you. Well done.
With everything that turned up in this.
I just quickly want to briefly mention the Raiders, just because they're like the Klingon shuttlecraft or shuttles. They're mental looking with the sort of the weird wings that sort of come out of them.
They've got peacock plumes. It's basically, it looks like a peacock spreading
plume.
its tail. It really does. And it's the one that takes up the most freaking space in my collection.
Really?
Yeah. You want to see?
Sure, go for it. It's a Klingon peacock, you're right. That is, oh, wow.
It is huge.
Are they metal as well, those little things?
Oh, this one's heavy. Yeah. This one's mostly metal.
Yeah, it's got a tail on it. It's like a...
Oh, yeah.
Nick, is that almost like a mini-winged dragonfly?
It is. These have a very sort of insectile look to them, with kind of the bulbous front.
You can almost see these as something that the insectoids would fly around in from the Xindi.
I've also just noticed with this, because I'm looking at the big sort of side-on render. So that's maybe another picture that we can include for people to look up, or they can look it up themselves. But if you look at this ship from side-on, it's got a circular saw underneath.
Does it?
There's like a little like probe thing like coming down underneath the main body, and it looks like it has a circular saw blade in the end of it.
Oh wow!
It does. It does have that on both sides, actually.
Oh, two of them
here. Yeah, that's twin saw blades, and those definitely look like saw blades. They could just be gears, but they look like saw blades, you guys.
Like, I don't know if that's actually meant to be something functional, or if it's just something that the designers put in as like an Easter egg to make it look more aggressive. But I've just noticed that now, and it's really cool.
This is going to sound totally hilarious, but this part right here that has the saw blade in it, this actually looks like a leg that is pulled up towards the body. And so now all I'm thinking about is Voltron. So.
Oh, yeah.
So many other ships came together to form this Klingon Raider.
Wow.
I don't really think that's true, but
I want to see
that's what I thought of.
Voltron crossover now.
Oh, stranger things have happened. There's been a Star Trek Transformers crossover, so.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well. Went off on a tangent
Yeah, but
talking
this
about
one,
Thunderbirds last time.
pain in the butt to display this one.
Oh, yeah.
Pain in
Because
the
those,
butt.
like, even if the core of it is metal, those wings would be resin, and that'd be pretty fragile.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely resin. You do not want to have this near anything that it's going to bump into. So, it basically gets a shelf to itself.
So, moving on from the many, many wonderfully designed Klingon ships. So, we talked a lot last time and the time before about Federation and Starfleet ships, which, you know, their mirror universe counterparts looked basically exactly the same, except for substitution of a U with an I in the name. But there was that one ship that was unique to the mirror universe, which was the Imperial flagship, the ISS Charon, which is just a kind of bonkers
It's a monstrosity
design. It's spectacular.
Oh, it's glorious. I love it. I love this thing.
So, Brandi, you've got a model of this one as well, haven't you?
I do.
It's
this
huge.
It is gigantic. It is. And it's all of its weight is in the back of the ship, which is where all of the stuff is. It's where the bridge is. It's where the drive is. All of that. It is heavy. It's heavier than the Klingon Raider, and the Klingon Raider is pretty heavy. So, but I expected this to be heavy because it's huge. This thing is at least a foot long, probably more like 14 inches as far as the model is concerned.
Well, I mean, the ship itself is meant to be city-sized.
Yeah, it is. It looks city-sized. I mean, even just as the model, you're like, this is a big thing.
Oh, yeah.
This is big.
So, I mean, there are some non-official things that say that it's supposed to have 450 decks.
I could believe that. I could absolutely believe that. And look, it's got the same sort of thing on the top as the cruise ship. It's got this area right here that's probably the bridge.
Yeah.
That looks very much like the middle bit in the whichever class that I've already forgotten. Let me go back and look at it again. The butler. The butler class. I'm sure that's terribly wrong. I apologize. I have no idea of how you would pronounce that because I don't speak Klingon.
I think something I love about the design of the Charon is it's huge. And you don't need to see it next to another ship to know that. Like, they just convey the scale of it so well with just the design of it and the whole overall look. You know, these like long sweeping arms of it and stuff that look very like thin and fragile to the point that you think it has to be huge for those to actually offer some form of structural support.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, given the size of it, they would still have to be huge, as you say.
Yeah.
I'm just amazed at the fact that you can have some kind of super mycelial reactor inside that. Again, just goes to show how big it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's a miniature sun in there, basically. I saw that and I instantly thought it was just some kind of like contained fusion reactor.
So obviously the Charon is named after the moon of Pluto, but probably more likely it's named after the guy who drove, the boat who carried the souls of the recent dead down the Styx.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Gotta have an oboe for him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which links up to an Opal for Charon episode.
Mm-hmm.
Or this could also be called the ISS Charon, but...
It's not Charon.
It's the Charon. Have you got anything else to say about the Charon, Brandi?
No, I love the Charon. I think it's intimidating. And that's exactly what it was built to look like, is something intimidating. You see something like that coming into the orbit of your planet and you know that you've got trouble. So, yeah, I enjoy it. It's interesting to see the model because I've noticed so many things that I didn't notice before. And, it's even got the, insignia of the mirror universe on it.
Oh, does it? Whereabouts?
It's got it right here.
Oh, yeah. So it does.
The Terran Empire.
Cool.
The Terran Empire. So, and it's got this nice spiny stuff on top.
I know a lot of people don't appreciate having us gone into the mirror universe, but I do just to see this ship.
Yep, I enjoyed it because, like, it's kind of hit and miss with me. Like, the original series Mirror Universe stuff obviously was the first time we did that. And then never happened in TNG in the actual series. It happened in the comics. And then I did not like the Mirror Universe stuff in Deep Space Nine. Did not like it at all.
I found that very hit and miss. I didn't mind it. I
found it very much miss, like all of it. It's like, oh no, not more Intendant Kira, please kill me. It just, I'm sorry. That's just my opinion. I know a lot of people loved it, but I was not one of those people.
That's fair enough.
Cool. So we will talk a bit now about the Section 31 ships that showed up in Discovery. So we only really had one through most of it, which is only ever, I don't think we ever got a proper name for it. It probably doesn't have a name.
Just the registry.
It was referred to as NCIA 93 type.
NCIS.
Nice.
Sorry, I put you off clearly.
This is the that kind of small Section 31 ship that first turns up in the Point of Light, I think.
Yeah.
So this is the one where you have Giorgio and what was his name?
Captain Van Sprang. I can't remember his name.
So that was the ship that they were on when they recruited Ash Tyler into Section 31 after, that episode, which
he gets his head chopped off.
Defend, because I love that episode. Great episode. And then, in the sort of final moments of that, we see this very weird-looking angular ship. It's got very, it's got that design and look to it that's like, okay, this was built by people from Earth, because it just kind of has a little bit of that Starfleet look to it, but it doesn't have the, rounded saucer section. It's a much darker material.
It's got a stealth look to it.
Yeah, it's very stealthy in its appearance, so it's clearly not your standard Starfleet. So you see it straight away. If you know what Section 31 is, you see this ship and you think it's obviously one of theirs. Yeah. And it's got that, it's not quite a cloaking device, but it's just that sort of holographic camouflage thing. And we just see it with its wings unfolding and it spinning, with the camera spinning around in that way that Amy hates. I wouldn't say I hated it, but it definitely took me quite a long time to figure out which was up or down on this ship. From those
yeah,
scenes.
Agree. Because I'm like, oh, that's not the top. That's the bottom.
Yeah.
Because space, 3-dimensional, screws me up.
You could say it's 4-dimensional with time.
Yeah.
But, I don't really like this ship too much. I mean, I like the colour.
I don't either.
What was that?
I don't either.
I mean, I like the colouring in terms of the black, but it's a little bit too angular for me.
I think I kind of do.
Is it Onyx that's black? It sort of reminds me of Onyx.
Onyx is
black. Yeah.
Is a black gemstone.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. Sort of very cut onyx.
Yeah, I guess it does a bit. I mean, I don't mind this design at all. I think I quite like it. It's not my favorite or anything. I think it does sort of convey what they want it to. It does look quite stealthy and a little bit menacing. Yeah, I think I quite like that it does look a bit sort of stripped down. It's like the sort of ship that I could imagine an organization like Section 31 having. It makes much more sense to me that they would have something small and utilitarian like this, as opposed to the giant dreadnought thing from Into the Darkness.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get me started on that.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of a cool design in its way.
Its interior as well is a bit meh, if you ask me.
I liked the bridge design just because it is not a Starfleet-looking bridge design. It's got that sort of gantry around it, and it just...
It kind of reminded me of the Agatha King and the Thomas
Agatha
Prince.
King. That's the name I was trying to think of. Yeah, in our last episode when we were talking about ships named after, people from the history of the internal universe, but not from real
the
world.
Expanse ones.
Yeah, it was the UNN Agatha King is one of the United Nations Navy ships from the Expanse, and there is.
That's what the interior reminds me of.
Yeah, same.
Same.
I really like the interior of the ships in The Expanse, but yeah, it is that sort of look. It's kind of that multi-level bridge with gantries, and like there's the view screen at the front or the window, I guess, but the design of the bridge itself doesn't really seem to have a front. Like it doesn't have like a captain's chair facing forward or anything like that.
No, but he kind of does have a ready room.
Yeah, that's true. I quite liked it purely for its difference from your standard Starfleet design.
I get that. It's kind of boring to me, but I feel like that is intentional because Section 31 is not going to want to call attention to itself. Yes. So that makes sense that it just is kind of, it doesn't really catch your eye. It doesn't really look like anything in particular. It's hard to identify. Yeah. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, and I think that that's purposeful.
Can I introduce the next ship?
Of course.
So the next ship we're going to talk about is a rather novel form of transport. It's the USS Gormagander. Good old Harry Mudd inside his space whale. Now this one's a rather
his own ship inside it as well, didn't he?
I don't care about that one.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, who cares? No. We never really see
this is kind of a nice sort of gooey sort of ship. It's got a few teeth.
Yeah, and a lot more tentacles than I expected.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, I'm not quite sure the design reason for the tentacles on that ship, but
I know. Well, maybe it makes more sense in space. Yeah. We don't really get a chance to see it in action very much. So
can't quite see its cannons and photon torpedoes.
Yeah, you just kind of get to see it like almost wallowing around, I want to say.
Oh, I'm a ship.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just very floppy sort of thing. Like, I don't know.
Obviously, this is just me being silly.
It doesn't seem practical.
Poor space whale. Oh, dear.
All right, back to seriousness. What's next?
Okay. Next, there are a couple of other Section 31 designs that are...
Oh, are there?
There is... You would blink and you miss them, and there's barely any reference to them. Basically, they just turn up in that final battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much to say about them, unfortunately. The one is like a very angular Miranda class, and another is just sort of a larger one. Actually looks a little bit like the Cardenas class. It's got 4 nacelles, but it's got sort of an angular arrowhead-shaped, I guess I'd say saucer section. There's only like a couple of images of them, so there's unfortunately not much to say, except these are, of course, the ones that had all of those hundreds and hundreds of drones that just flew off the front of them. So, yeah, moving on from those, I think the next one, is the Festoon, or Baron Grimes's ship, which is from the episode with Harry Mudd. This is the ship that they sort of palm him off to with his future father-in-law in charge of this ship. Very weird design. This is another like sort of cruise ship-like design.
No, it's like a private jet, basically, isn't it? But a private starship.
I mean, it's a private yacht in space, I guess.
Because he's a rich dude.
Yeah. And then it's got this like golden statue of something on the front. Looks like it could be like a boar or a lion or something.
Oh, like how rich people seem to have like heads of dead animals that they've shot for no bloody reason.
Yeah, that exact thing.
I was thinking of like the hood ornament on like a fancy Jaguar or something, but yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, that makes sense as well. I don't like it. I think it's ugly.
Yeah, it's not my favorite.
No. Next.
I think the only other one we have in our outline is the worker bees, is the Discovery worker bees.
Oh, these are cute. Little bumblebee ships.
Yeah, it's a cute model too.
Yeah. And I think they
adorable.
They work quite well as, they look quite good as worker bees, as little, working maintenance pods. Like they've got the big window, which means you've got a very good vantage point of what you're looking at, what you're observing. And they have the 2 little manipulator arms and stuff. They do look. If you go past the idea that a great big bubble window in space is not very practical, but we can just say, well, it's transparent aluminum. It's probably just as hard as whatever the hull's made out of, so that's probably not a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think they're cute, and I mean, you don't get to. Well, let's face it, we saw a lot of complaints about why are there worker bees, why are there these kind of ships, haven't seen these kind of ships before, blah, blah, blah. Well, you don't get to 2250-something, have space travel and not invented something like this.
Yeah.
So this makes sense.
Yeah. I feel like this is basically an extension of there are a few different designs for like spacewalk pods, something that is not quite, it's just not quite just a spacesuit. It has sort of extended manipulators on it and stuff like that, designed for doing work on the space station and things like that.
They're almost like manual DOT-7s, manual dots.
Yeah, I like them. They're cute. They are so cute.
So the last ones that we can talk briefly about, they don't really appear very much, are the bowl ships. Now, are there multiple types of bowl ships?
Well, you've got the little fighters that the Kelpians somehow managed to learn how to fly.
Yeah, they're the little...
And then you've got the sentry ships.
Fighter pods. And they're... Yeah, again, it's something that we barely see any images of. You know, we don't really get proper pictures, but they are very sort of small and compact and kind of angular. They look like a stealth fighter, you know, the sort of black angled panels. The slightly similar shape to the Klingon Raider, that sort of like cockpit at the front with the like dragonfly like tail at the back.
I still don't know enough about the bowl to know whether they can even fly ships though, because are they meant to be in tar? Do they live in tar? Or that black watery stuff, or what? Like, I don't understand them.
We don't know.
No. So, I mean, to me, it's a bit strange because we don't really know how the bowl live, but you know, they're just ships to me. They're nothing really special. The sentry ships are kind of cool, like the trapezoidal shaped black things that were trying to stop the Discovery from going to Kaminar. But I mean, at the end of the day, they're just kind of.
I quite like that design. I like a lot of the designs of the bowl technology. Actually, it's just very. I don't know. I guess I like kind of matte black, angular ship designs and stuff.
Yeah,
with little like glowy bits. It makes me think of, you know, like discovering. I think there are things like this in No Man's Sky, little like ancient relics and stuff that you can discover, and it's just it's like basically like a monolith, and you activate it and bits glow.
Yes, that is correct.
But like the design is so simple, you can't really tell what the functional bits are, so it seems very advanced to me.
Do you know what I would have appreciated?
What would you have appreciated?
The little glowy bits that came out the bottom, like obviously, which is like the power parts. If they were red, and then we had like the tops of them being black, and then they'd have been like the Buckingham Palace guards.
The what?
You know the guards outside Buckingham Palace?
Oh, guards!
With the big hats.
So if there's red glowy bits, it'd be his body, and the black top bits are its hat.
Oh, right. Just a much,
and they're
much
not
bigger
allowed
hat.
to laugh.
I think we've noticed that I'm like the least serious person on.
No, I can give you a run for your money.
Okay, so and with the bowl ships, that's pretty much everything there is to say about the ships that we've seen in Discovery. There have been, I think, a couple of other vessels that have sort of flicked in and out of screen now and then. With that said, we've had these 3 episodes talking about all the different ship designs in Discovery, sort of Starfleet and otherwise. Do either of you have any more final thoughts on anything we've talked about?
No. Just kidding. I basically just overall really love the amount of detail that went into all of the ship designs. And I have, being subscribed to the Eagle Moss automatic delivery of Discovery ships every month, I have come to appreciate aspects of the vessels more when I can actually pick it up and look at it up close. Pictures are one thing, but actually holding it in your hand and being able to turn it over and look at it from any angle, I think makes me just appreciate them that much more. So, thumbs up to Discovery Ships design team and those who brought them to life on the screen.
Yeah, so I agree with what you were saying, Brandi. There's a lot of decorative designs that we've got here, especially within the Klingon ships. I feel like there's a lot more intricacies to the Klingon ships than maybe the Starfleet ships, which I definitely appreciate, especially the bird of prey. I love this bird of prey. So I echo Nick, I really need to get that model. But yeah, so I mean, overall, I'm very appreciative of the work that the design team have put into these. This is not intended as like a slight on the, previous designs, especially, all the ships that were brought in for, like Battle Wolf 359. Back then they were working with what they could and did the best job of it. And there was a lot of like kit bashing and stuff. Same with the ships that took part in the Dominion War. But I mean, the amount of design stuff that has gone into, and the detail that they are allowed by sort of modern CGI technologies and stuff that they're able to put into these ships, it's just brilliant. And as someone who really, really loves digging into like all the lore and specification of like that one background ship that was on screen for 3 seconds, I really appreciate everything that there is to see and everything that's available about all the new ship designs that we have in Discovery. I'm looking forward to seeing what we get in the far future with the next season. It's been fun talking about all of the non-Starfleet ships in Discovery today, and about all of the ships of Discovery over the past few weeks. But this isn't the only thing we've been discussing on the network. So here is a quick look at some of the other things you may have missed elsewhere on Trek.fm.
Previously on Trek.fm, Primitive Culture, a look at history and culture through Star Trek.
I think the difference is that Flashback is intentionally trying to carve Voyager a little place within the fabric of the undiscovered country, say, and it's trying to place Tuvok. Well, it's trying almost to retcon, isn't it? Because Tim Russ was in that film as one of the Excelsior crew, so it's trying to do a retcon and say,
no, he was in Generations. He wasn't even in that film. That's the
wasn't he?
Thing. He was like, and I suppose it's a Brannon Braga episode as well. Brannon Braga wrote Generations. Brannon Braga, I suppose, must have realised maybe unconsciously realised that Tim Russ was in Generations as a different character.
He wasn't he?
It's almost like a weird sort of.
I've got that wrong. You're right.
I wonder whether unconsciously on some level that's the connection you're supposed to be sort of slipping into, and of course that he was serving on an Excelsior class ship.
Earl Grey.
I want to see that spaceship that's got giant space-time knitting needles, and they just like do that, like as they warp through space, fixing it behind themselves. That'd be awesome.
Literary Treks.
The one that I left out that in hindsight I regret it is the one where he's is it Wink of an Eye, where he's fighting the guy in the quarters and he actually throws a pillow at the other guy and it hits him in the face and stops him dead in his tracks for 2 seconds, long enough for Kirk to get the upper hand on him. And I'm like, I don't even know how to describe this. I don't even know what to give. I couldn't come up with a name for it. That was probably the biggest thing, is I couldn't come up with a catchy name for it. Pillow Talk or something, maybe in hindsight I would call that. But,
stopped him dead in his tracks because he's like, did you just throw a pillow?
Did you just throw a pillow?
The Line, a Star Trek Picard podcast.
I think I've exhausted the planet.
Well, then let me end on a funny note. The first thing I thought when I saw that senator beheaded was, well, I guess we don't need to worry about Quentin Tarantino doing a Star Trek movie anymore.
Oh, yeah, I was actually quite surprised by that. But
and his blood was very bright green. It
was very bright green.
Yeah.
Bravo. Bring Quentin Tarantino back.
Yes.
And that's what else is happening on Trek.fm.
Check out all of these shows and join in the conversation about your favorite corner of the Star Trek universe and beyond. You will find us wherever you get podcasts. If you're an Apple user, be sure to hit the subscribe button in Apple Podcasts on iPhone, iPad, or Apple TV, or the desktop iTunes app to get the latest episodes as soon as they are published. And please leave us a star rating and written review, because if you do, we will read it.
Yes. If you're not an Apple user, we've got you covered as well. You can find our shows on Google Play Music, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, in most third-party apps, and you can stream and download the MP3 file from our website or grab the RSS link.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's show, and there are many, many ways for you to do that. The best place to join in the larger conversation is, of course, in the Babel Conference. That's our listeners group on Facebook. So just type BABEL into the search field on Facebook, and it should come right up. If you'd like to send us an email, you can use the form on our website at trek.fm/contact. So choose to send to a show and select the Edge, and that email will come right to us. And you can also find the network on Twitter at TrekFM and on Facebook at facebook.com/TrekFM. So, Brandi, when you're not collecting your own miniature fleet of starships, where can people find you on the internet?
Well, I wrote this down because sometimes I have trouble remembering things, as Liam well knows. You can find me obviously here, but you can also find me lurking in the Babel Conference on Facebook, and you can also find me on Twitter at BrandyWine12. And I do a little show called Live from the Edge with my friend Bruce, and that will start up again as soon as new episodes of Discovery are dropping. Currently, I'm also doing a live show on Dan Gunther's YouTube channel, Kurt Ratz Productions, along with Bruce and Dan of Literary Treks, Take a Drink, and we're talking about each new episode of Star Trek Picard. So that is currently on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific. Go subscribe to Dan's YouTube channel because he's a great guy and puts out great content. You can also hear me talk about whatever the heck I want on the Dark Corner podcast with my fabulous husband, Dave. We take all the nerd things that we love and kind of look at them from a darker lens. And then also I have a solo podcast because apparently I don't have enough to do. So it's called Headcanon, 2 words, Headcanon, canon with 1 N, because canon with 2 N's is a weapon. And you can find that on iTunes and also at darkcornerpodcast.com, where you can see also all the postings for the Dark Corner podcast. So there you go. So Liam, when you are not dreaming up petitions to get the Gormagander made into a model as a ship, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at LS74656. You can find me on the Babel Conference. And you can also find me on To the Journey, a Star Trek Voyager podcast on Trek FM. So, Nick, when you're not fantasizing about the bird of prey Eagle Moss thing, where can we reach you on the internet?
You can find me, first and foremost, in the Babel Conference. I'm relatively active there, especially after any of our episodes drop. I'm also on Twitter, at Punk Zoologist, and also on Instagram, where I am at Punk Rock Zoologist, all one word.
If you'd like to keep us... If you'd like to keep us close to your hearts, then you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/TrekFM. If you don't know how to spell Patreon, I will tell you now. patreon.com/TrekFM to get those deets, yo. Perks include early access to episodes, producer credits, and more available through the special patrons website, Patron Zone. It requires so much money to produce, host, and distribute these shows each month, as well as a great deal of patience. And we appreciate any support that you can give us. We hope you will join the team. And again, you'll find all the details at patreon.com/TrekFM.
We'd like to also thank our associate producers, our little space whales, Norman C. Lau, Tony Robinson, Thomas Palayo, Lisa Slack, Shoaib Mirza, Richard Rutledge, James Muldrow, Cornelia Reutner, Ryan Mallett, Chris Jabuzio. Thank you for supporting Trek FM and The Edge.
Thank you all for listening, and join us next time to see what's happening on The Edge of Federation Space.
It's space. Welcome aboard, it's space.
If you would like to help us keep all of our shows coming to you.
I haven't done Nick yet.
Wait a minute.
So, Nick, when you're being forgotten about by Brandi, where can we reach you on the internet?
I'm not fit to run loose, you guys. Now I have to add to my list. God, I'm so sorry.
No, I'll do it again.